it happened around 6, and I think it was 6:15 when the phone rang, and Randy was on the phone. I was sitting, Tony Perkins was there with me, and Randy said, Jimmy Dean is dead. He said, Jimmy's dead. And I said, Randy, that's very unfunny. He said, no, call his exchange. So I called his exchange, and they said, who's calling? And I said, James Dean, please. They said, who's calling? And I said, who was calling, and they waited a while. They didn't know whether to tell me or not, because there were some people they weren't going to tell it to, and other people they were. And then finally they came and said, well, they decided I could be told. But I never called him. I never called his exchange. So they didn't know that I was a close person. So they did tell me, where they said, well, he's really, really not available. And I said, you mean it's true? They said, yes, it's true. Sadly, it's true. That's all. We didn't say the word dead or anything. So then I said, Tony, I said, Jack had just dropped us off, and he had gone like a block away to visit some lesbian whores that lived a block away. And I said, we have to go and tell Jack before he hears it. Jack was just really going to go crazy. He was so unstable anyway, and he fancied himself in love with Jimmy. He was certainly transfixed. So we walked over. Tony walked with me and rang the doorbell at the apartment where he was. And he came to the door with an apron on and a bowl of Brussels sprouts, a big bowl of Brussels sprouts, which had been peeling. And I said, get out of the way, I have to come in. He didn't want us in because it wasn't his place to invite us in. It wasn't his house, so he moved away. He could see something was wrong. He came in. And I sat down. I said, Jack, sit down. He was still standing with the Brussels sprouts. And he said, what's the matter? What is it? And I said, the worst thing. What's the worst thing that could happen? He said, your cats. I said, no. The worst thing that could happen in the world to anybody and everybody, the worst thing. And he said, not Jimmy. I said, yeah, just what you said. He said Jimmy was going to die. He's not coming back, he said. And I said, yeah, what you said was right. So you know what he did? He lapsed into Norma Desmond. He stopped being Jack Simmons. He was fascinated by Gloria Swanson's performances of Norma Desmond. And he said, he just dropped the bowl of Brussels sprouts. He said, no, it's not true. It can't be true. It was he went on demented, completely demented. He did not accept the news as himself. He accepted it as another person. He was an unprofessional. He was a transvestite and an unprofessional impersonator, but he was a very good impersonator. I don't do it well. He really did it well. He became Norma Desmond. He accepted the news as this other person. Somewhere along the line, Tony got, I guess, embarrassed and walked away. Went away. I read later he just walked down the road and went home to the Chateau Marmont where he lived. So then Jack came out of his trance and said, okay, let's go. We have to go. I have to go and tell Ursula. So Jack drove us to Ursula's, and she lived in a little cottage at a dead-end street, and it was dark now, and there were a lot of bushes, and I waited in the car because I didn't know Ursula well enough to cause more discomfort, but Jack was with her, going to get her. So I waited in the car while he went to go and tell Ursula, and then Marlon appeared at the car because he had been hiding in the bushes. Ursula had called him. She had said, they're trying to kill me. She had called him screaming. She used any device to get to Marlon at that time. So now she called him and said, she was in hysterics, and said, they're trying to kill me, they're threatening me, they think he killed himself because of me, and it's my fault, and they want to get me, and I'm frightened, you have to come, I'm alone. So he came, but he looked in the windows first to be sure. He hid in the bushes and looked to be sure that she wasn't putting him on, that she was really upset. And then Jack found him in the bushes and said, Mila's over there in the hearse. Jack drove a hearse. He said, Mila's in the hearse. So Marlon came over to offer condolences.